Hi, I'm Thuli Nkosi and I am a human at JGF.
Ifikile imini enkulu. Welcome to the Humans of JGF, a JGF holiday special highlighting the brilliant minds behind our vision. And today, as per usual, today we have a special guest, part of our JGF team. So orcs that I'm interviewing her. I'll let you know this because she's the producer of this here podcast. We're just looking at each other. I'm just like, Kel, Sitini, what do we say? Because we work together on this thing.
We have fun.
Good people, it is a Thuli Nkosi. Hi Thuli, how are you?
Hi Mathabo, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So for those who do not know who Thuli is, so for context, for those who do not see the day-to-day workings of JGF, when there is an event, for instance, the one person you will see on their heels from start to finish, walking up and down Speedy Gonzalez, is Thuli, working behind the scenes with grace and with technical precision. She is the head of our marketing team. Thuli, for those who do not know what your work entails, just give us a short overview of what it is that you do.
Sure. Where to start? I think a lot of the time when I have to describe what it is I do or even just my title, it even confuses me, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just be like, oh, I'm a digital marketing specialist.
Yeah.
But like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
What do you actually do? And it's not difficult because I don't understand what it is I do. That's not it. It's just because there's so much that's involved in it.
And also because it's digital, so it's ever evolving as well,
Correct.
right?
Correct. There's so much that goes on. So, I mean, I do a number of things, but the way I like to describe my job is that I'm actually a writer. Like, first and foremost, I'm a writer. So before we try to get anything, before we get too complex about what it is I actually do, I'm a writer. That's it. I'm a writer, always have been a writer, always have loved writing.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm a writer first and foremost. I'm a copywriter, but was trained to be a marketing expert and more specifically a digital marketer. So my work comprises managing the website, making sure our social media is popping, that kind of stuff. And what you just mentioned as well, some of the events that I also coordinate and just make sure there's, enough photography around that, videography around that, so that multimedia can, again, be used on our, our digital platforms online and any other digital assets that we might want to publish, yeah.
Oh, lovely. Thuli, where are you from?
Where am I from? Shoot, loaded question. Not really, but yes, okay. I'm Joburg, born and raised.
Sure.
But yes, I was born in Soweto, in Diepkloof in Soweto, but I was raised in Boksburg. So, but also moved around a little bit before actually settling in Boksburg. But yes, when I tell people where I'm from, I say I'm a Sowetan because that's where I was born.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was actually raised in the suburbs of Boksburg. Very boring.
Yeah. What's boring about Boksburg? I'm sure people from BK are like, I'm a girl.
No, please. Boksburg is a dorpy. There's nothing exciting about Boksburg at all.
The town may not be exciting, but the talent that comes from there, obviously, unmatched. Look at you. Hello. So we are a teaching fellowship, and I think being part of JGF has really sensitized me, at least, to the plight of education, and in particular, the lack of expert teachers in South African classrooms. And now taking it to the classroom, Thuli, share with us the earliest memory of yours at school.
Sure. I guess like my first day in my grade 1 class. It's the one day I definitely will never forget. One, because my teacher was just so kind to me and I didn't actually expect that. I was super nervous. I wasn't shy as a kid. I've never been shy, but it was that I was just so nervous about being in big school, coming from pre-K. And also just being in a school that I didn't think my parents would be taking me to that kind of school.
Yeah.
So by that I mean I went to a private school. So the people around me weren't people I was used to seeing.
Wait, so at the age of like 6, 7, 8, you were able to rationalize and make sense of the fact that I'm not supposed to be here. Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think it's that my sister and I, for the longest time, were the only kids in like these spaces with other people around us that didn't look like us.
Okay.
So, like I said, like growing up in Boksburg, that says something. And just the people I was around were not people I was used to being around. Also having to speak English all the time. And I remember some of the time we'd actually get into trouble. My sister and I used to get into trouble at school because we would speak Zulu to each other. And at aftercare, especially at aftercare, they would tell us like, you're not allowed to speak Zulu, you have to speak English. So it's things like that. So we were very aware of exactly what it is we were a part of, and that we didn't look like everybody else, that this was very, very different. But at home, we also had conversations about it. Like I'd ask my dad, like, why did I go to a school where like these are the people that are around me, and not
what
my
would be
kind
the
of
response?
people? My dad was just like, well, we wanted better for you guys, and this is the opportunity that you have available, and you must just use it in the best way that you can, because we didn't afford this when our parents didn't afford this rather when we were younger. Also, Bantu education, apartheid, all that stuff. But you are now here and you are afforded this opportunity. So just, go forth and conquer. And I'm always grateful for my parents for all the sacrifices that they made. And I think now I understand that much more than what I did when I was younger, obviously. Yeah. So it's very grateful for the opportunities and the sacrifices that they made for us to be afforded this kind of life. But it was hard. It was definitely super hard. And a lot of the time it's like I didn't even think about what it is my parents even did for a living. But going to private school, like these are the things. Like kids would talk about like, oh, my parents just got, this new car. And I was like, oh, okay. And oh, my parents this and this. And I was like, oh, okay. It's like I didn't think about these things. I didn't know what my parents did for a living. For the longest time, I had no idea what my parents did, how we could afford the lifestyle that we did. I had no idea.
You guys were the broke best friends.
Exactly.
You and your sister.
Exactly.
It's like, I'm just eating and sleeping, man.
Exactly. And we just went to school. Like, what does it matter that we're, like none of that stuff matters. And not for kids anyway. Kids shouldn't be thinking about that kind of stuff. So, but yes, my sister and I always felt kind of out of place.
So what was your fondest memory do you have in high school?
High school, fondest memory. I don't think there are many. No, actually, getting my academic colors. That was probably like anytime I had to get an academic award, actually, because it was something that my dad pushed for us to do. So whenever we got like the top 10 award, any academic colors, that kind of stuff, going to prize giving and all those evenings.
Love prize giving.
My favorite part of school, but definitely my favorite part of high school. Sure. Yeah.
So when thinking about school and thinking about the kinds of people you were around, how would you define yourself as a learner?
So I'll be honest, I hated school. I found comfort in the fact that I had really great teachers, and I commend my teachers for what they poured into me, for me to be the kind of, student that I was in school, because I literally have been in top 10 since I was in grade 4. So that means like the teachers were doing the work,
Yeah.
That was definitely not me. I hated school. I genuinely hated school. And I remember in grade 5 sitting in Mrs. van den Berg's art class, and I was having a particularly difficult time with one of the assignments, and I just hated it. I I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to do any of it, but I knew I had to. I persevered, and it's all thanks to my teachers. So I hated school, but I commend the teachers that I had that really poured into me for me to become the kind of student that I was, and that every single year, the only thing that mattered to me is that I made top 10 and I got those colors.
Yeah.
Like that was the only thing that mattered. You make top 10, you get those colors.
Why did you hate school?
I don't know. I think it's the structure of school.
Sure.
And I'm a creative, so having to sit still for hours on end, listening to somebody. I also wasn't actually good at taking instructions, if I'm honest. So I was a little bit disruptive, but not disruptive in a way that I was disrespectful to the teachers and, kind of messing with the flow of what a classroom is supposed to be. Not like that. But it's that I used to challenge my teachers. So I would actually say like, but ma'am, you said, and I don't think that makes sense. Like, can we talk about that?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So, and especially in high school. So I think grade 11, even grade 12 was maybe the years where I really was just that rebel, which was funny to me. But I just, I thought.
What do you mean
that
rebel?
was necessary. So it was that every time I got homework, I always went ahead of the class.
Okay, cool.
So I'd go ahead of the class. I would challenge my teachers in ways that I don't think they anticipated, but I also don't think they really appreciated. It was just like, just sit still and just hear me talk to you. So
it was like defying authority in many senses.
No, for sure. And I think I've always been like that. It's that I do appreciate structure, but because I'm very kind of like fidgety, like you want to be active in something and not just have people talk at you. I don't appreciate that at all. I didn't even go to actually like a traditional university for that reason. I didn't want to be sitting in lectures for people to just be talking at me, and that was the way I felt like I needed to learn. That's not how you learn. You learn by actually applying yourself, by being interactive and that kind of stuff. So actually in my English class, and my English teacher didn't appreciate it, I don't think, but later on, once I matriculated, she actually came up to me and she was just like, you were actually one of my favorites. Like, you caused a lot of havoc, but you were actually my favorite. And it was because you really challenged me, but you also challenged the learners in the classroom. Because it was that we just got a lesson plan and she just went over the lesson plan and now we're just supposed to sit and do whatever activity and have homework, I didn't feel like that was sufficient. Like, why aren't we talking about this Macbeth that we're reading? Why aren't we talking about, To Kill a Mockingbird in a way that's more fulfilling than it just being a thing that we're reading and then we're going to, do some more other, activity on it, just answering questions about like, oh, what does this theme mean? What does that theme mean? And because I really liked English and Afrikaans, like any languages, those were my favorite classes. So I wanted to apply myself in more than just being the person who's listening and just being a passive kind of learner. I didn't appreciate that.
No, I hear you. And speaking about this learning and teaching experience of yours, who was your favorite teacher and why?
So many. I always pick my English teachers because they are the reason I do what I do. So in grade 5, Mrs. Short, particularly because she was also super attentive to me. But I had chicken pox in grade 5. I was 11. I got chicken pox, which was the most terrible time, I think, of my primary school life. But Mrs. Short made sure that I caught up. I think I missed school for like a good 3-4 weeks. But she made sure I caught up because, like I was saying earlier, my thing was just that I had to make top 10. It didn't matter how, I had to make top 10. And because this was the expectation at home as well, it was that even if I did not sleep as an 11-year-old, if I didn't sleep and I just had to push on that homework trying to catch up, I was going to do it. But Mrs. Short would make time for me. Thuli, do you want to come and sit with me during break? Let's go through this. Let's go through that. Let's go through this. Do you want to read this book over the weekend? And then maybe we can discuss how far you can get with this kind of lesson or whatever. So it's those kind of things that really just poured into me and made me the kind of person that I am today. So Mrs. Short for sure, but all of my English teachers, Mrs. Spanos in grade 8, who encouraged me to take on public speaking, and really like paid attention to how I write my oral presentations. And if at any point she felt like I wasn't really living up to the standard that she thought I could, she would call me aside and be like, let's discuss this. Like, let's see how you can work better at doing this. And I'm going to give you a chance to do it again.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, because I could see that this wasn't how you would have delivered it. Like, you can deliver this much, much better. And I was like, why is she caring so much? But yeah, it's, it's all of them. Honestly, all of my English teachers really did the most work for me to be the person that I am today.
It actually reminds me of a thing a friend of mine once said, that her professor, who is not South African born and bred, made a commentary about the South African education system, saying that it is not redemptive. And to hear Ms. Spanos,
Ms. Spanos, yeah.
Ms. Spanos, giving you another opportunity. And just imagine constantly being in a context where every test is do or die, every exam is do or die. Compound that with the anxiety of being the first black anything in class. So it's like being the context of not having a second chance. Second chances are a privilege for many people, whereas second, third, fourth, fifth, even 10th chances ought to be the right of any living human being. So that's actually really, really interesting and heartwarming to hear teachers doing that. So let's fast track now. Thuli, top 10 girlies, matriculant. Now she's like, what does the world have said for me? I love me some English. What next?
Oh no. Oh, okay. So matric was actually a very sad time. I think it was in my second week of writing my matric exams. My dad passed away. I was writing my physical science exam, if I remember correctly, and that whole morning, Jay, was just it was not a great morning. So it was that I had to rush to school. My dad told me, as we were driving to school, Guti, I'd have to come back home on the bus. And I'm thinking to myself, why aren't you picking me up? Like, what are you doing to me? This is exam time. Now you want to put me on a bus? Like, what's going on? So there was all these things. So I had a really terrible morning. And then later that evening, my dad didn't come home. The next morning, we learned he passed in a car accident.
Sorry to hear that.
So, then matric, literally, it was just a nosedive from there.
Sure.
Nothing made sense. I had to continue to write my exams, but it was very, very difficult. But I did it. I made it, and I graduated with a bachelor's thingy-mabob. I forget what you call those things.
Yeah.
Yes, that. And then I had to take a gap year because, my mind was all muddled. I didn't know what it is I needed to do anymore. I was going to become a doctor. So, yes, I was very much a creative in my high school days, but my dad did not want me to pursue anything in the creatives. So his dream for me was to become a doctor. So I was going to study to become a pediatrician. But obviously after he passed away, that dream kind of died with him, because I was just like, how am I going to do this now? Like, no one is here to talk science with me. No one's here to talk biology with me. None of these things mattered to me as much as what they did before. And my mom just encouraged me, like, well, just, think about it. Take a gap year if you need to. Think about what it is you would like to pursue. And just go ahead and do what it is you want to do. Not something your dad would have liked you to do. Not something I want you to do. Something you want to do. So, I just went through, I guess, a self-exploration journey, a self-discovery journey, because I have done everything under the sun. Every time I tell people about my work experiences, it's actually quite funny because I've been working since I was 19 and literally have done anything and everything. I was a facilitator, facilitating computer skills for young people, and then moved on to modeling for a little bit, and the modeling led to fashion. So I worked in fashion for a bit. And while I was working in fashion, I then realized, like, oh no, I can still do some writing, because it's something I'd always liked to do, and started doing, like contribution work, writing some features for online magazines and that kind of thing. And that kind of just like, led me eventually to then studying communications. And that's how I am here today.
I mean, what a great introduction to the next question I want to ask you, which is your journey to impact within the JGF context. So highlight the versions of Thuli that contribute to the Thuli that we get to enjoy, work with, and experience high quality work that we do from you. So you speak about modeling. Come on, Tyra Banks.
No.
You speak about fashion. You're talking about contribution in magazines and communications. And how did we get into the digital world in this immersive kind of way that you present?
Sure. So I think it was just through like dabbling in different things that I realized that I need to actually just decide what it is I want to do, because I can't keep switching careers like this. At some point I'm going to have to settle on something. And I guess it was through conversations that I would have with some of my friends, people in my network, about like what are kind of, I guess, like what is a career that will help you be, one, established, but number two, also just is a career that will sustain you for years and years to come, right? Because with the ever evolving things in this world, we don't know, Uguti, if you're now suddenly, I don't know, a fashion designer today, is that going to be sustainable for 10, 20 years? Maybe not, because fast fashion is, well, now fast fashion is a great thing, but like fast fashion will quickly die out. What with sustainable fashion coming up, I also didn't actually like fashion as much as I thought I did. So, it was fun. I loved it. And I actually enjoyed being a stylist more than I enjoyed being a PA to a fashion designer. Because that's where I started. But yeah, after a while, it was just like, oh, this is not working anymore. So what is the other thing I can do? And yeah, through various conversations, then I came to realize like, oh no, there's this thing, called digital marketing that people are talking about.
Yeah.
Facebook was still kind of up and coming. Instagram was up and coming. These were very, very young back in the day when I had started, because I think I started around when I was 22. So 2012 was when I was trying to make these decisions. Like, okay, what do I do now? And a friend of mine told me about Digify Africa. If you've never heard of Digify Africa, get on it. It's a really, really, really cool initiative.
What's it about?
Yeah, Digify Africa it's an initiative that's basically like a boot camp for young people interested in digital marketing, right?
Oh, great.
So it gives you all the skills that you need to get upskilled within the space, and they even help you get employment in various industries or agencies, depending on what avenue you're trying to go into. So what was surprising for me is I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how I would be able to do it. I've always known I wanted to work or do meaningful work, because working in commercial for me, I realized was not what I wanted. But how do you do meaningful work? Like, and what does that look like? What does it mean? And I was through Digify introduced to African Leadership Academy. And yeah, after my Digify experience, after I graduated from Digify, that's when I started working in education.
Yeah.
And yeah, I worked at ALA for 4 great years. And after that, kind of transitioned into doing kind of more of the work that I thought was even more meaningful, in that I just made decisions on who it is I wanted to work with, what projects I wanted to work on, and that kind of stuff. So I started freelancing. Well, I was always freelancing, but I actually just focused on freelancing a lot more after leaving ALA. And yeah, through ALA, I was then led to JGF.
Oh, lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. And now, what surprised you the most about working with JGF?
What surprised me the most? I guess it's that we are given a lot of, is the word space. Like we're trusted with what it is we're doing, right? I think a lot of people work in spaces where they're not necessarily trusted with the work. Like you'd hire a person and you knew exactly why you were hiring that person, but you don't actually trust them to do the job that you hired them for. And micromanagement, that whole thing is that people are always complaining about these environments where they aren't trusted to do the work that they were hired for. But here I feel I self-manage. I'm a self-starter. I do the work based on what it is I outline for myself. Yes, I do have a manager that I report to, and we have regular conversations, weekly conversations, in fact, to check in on the kind of work that I'm doing. But I think I was surprised, but absolutely appreciate the fact that JGF just allows us to do our work, you know, like we're the professionals here. And I think that's really, really crucial in workspaces, because why must you hover over an adult who you have hired and trusted to do this job?
Sure.
There's no need. So yeah, I was really surprised by that and genuinely appreciate it.
And how does JGF's vision meet your passion and your vision as a person?
I don't know if it necessarily does.
Okay.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think that arriving at JGF gave me a whole new aspect and a whole new kind of landscape about what it is that's actually missing in education. So yes, I'm very passionate about education. I'm very passionate about the things that matter to young people and how it is we need to equip young people. So all of that stuff matters to me, but it was that I didn't necessarily know just how dire the plight of, experienced teachers in classrooms is. I didn't know this. I genuinely didn't. But being at JGF has kind of just broadened my scope about the kind of work that matters in this world and what kind of projects I want to continue to work in. So I've been very fortunate in that just in the last 4 or 5 years, I've worked on really amazing projects with so many different kinds of clients, and in spaces like the UNDP and that kind of stuff, and just like really doing the social impact work that matters to me. But doesn't matter to me because like, oh, I am so deeply moved by, this certain situation or whatever. It's not necessarily that. I'd be lying if that was the case. It's that I just like to give in spaces that I feel that is needed.
Yes.
So if somebody is approaching me and it's like, Thuli, I would need your help in this, then yeah, I'm always happy to help. So it's that I felt like I needed to come into JGF for myself so that I can learn how to be better in this space, the social impact space. But more than that, it was really just that I am able to give back in the ways that I feel are necessary.
Yeah. Our candidate fellows in our organization are our North Star. We do the work that we do to make sure that they reach their full potential and impact South African classrooms that are in dire need of the expertise. And what about our candidate fellows to you gives the reassurance that South African classrooms are in safe hands?
So much. So, I mean, I'm just super excited about the episodes we've been recording this month. Just listening to these young people talk about their passion for the classroom, why it is they became teachers, and what it is they just want to give to the world, Like, yes, they're starting in our nation in South Africa, but how much more of an impact are they going to make when those young people, those young minds go out into the world and become whatever it is that they are going to become? That's just, it's such an amazing gift to hold, that you're literally in a classroom to teach, but that impact is so much greater than you, and it's a ripple effect. So I think just them realizing that and being able to articulate just what impact they're trying to make and where it is they're trying to make it, I think is just so beautiful to watch. And them really stepping up, and when I think about it, I'm just like, geez, I used to be a facilitator teaching computer skills, and that used to be so nerve-wracking for me. But I would do it. But I'm looking at these young people, and it's like they're 22, 23, and they're teaching matriculants, grade 11s. I was like, how are you doing that?
Fired up.
How are you doing that? And literally for like however many hours are in a day, from 8 until 2 or whatever. But like, you're really doing this. You're making those lesson plans. You're engaging these young minds. You are in this space, and you're doing, the most. You're making the pots. Like, that is amazing.
Yes.
That is absolutely amazing.
So our slogan as an organization this year has been #BeATeacher. To everyone that's listening, why is it important that A, they be a teacher if there is that inkling towards teaching? That's A. And B, why they ought to support the plight of finding and honing and nurturing expert teachers in South Africa.
Absolutely. So to answer your first question, I think be a teacher because, one, it's exactly what we need to improve our education system. But number two, because they are better and maybe newer and more imaginative ways that we can teach our young kids, right? We can teach these young minds, mold these young minds in so many more creative ways. So be a teacher because you bring something different to the table.
Yeah.
Be a teacher because it's necessary. We want to mold these young minds. We want to bring about a change in South Africa that is absolutely necessary. So yeah, we're relying on, young, brilliant people. And it's not that we want just anyone to be a teacher. This has to be something you genuinely are passionate about, but you must really be a person who cares about people, right? You must care about these young minds. You must care about the subjects that you would want to teach. So you must really love science if that's what you want to teach. You must really love maths if that's what you want to teach, because these are the subjects that are going to change this world. ESCOM right now is in a dire situation. And do we not need some engineers, some brilliant minds in that space to fix those issues? We need civil engineers. We need like urban planners, all these things that are very, very necessary for the infrastructure of a nation. So yeah, be a teacher because it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And next,
sorry, I missed your second question.
The second question is, why should people support the plight of getting expert teachers into South African classrooms?
Oh, I guess it's the very same answer then, because it's necessary. It is so necessary. I think when we talk about it, I mean, just coming to JGF, just learning about all these stats about the kinds of people who enter classrooms in other nations, right? So if you think about teachers who are in classrooms in Singapore, in the South Koreas, in the Finlands, and that kind of thing, and you hear about the expertise that these people hold for them to be able to enter those classrooms. I think we need to take teaching just as seriously. We need to start shifting our mindsets about what it is a teaching profession looks like and what it actually means.
And it can never be a fallback career.
Yes, it is absolutely not. It is not a fallback career. It is also not something that you decide to do just because it's the other thing you can do or because you want to be an English teacher in Asia. Like, do that if that's what you want to do, right? But if you're really thinking about the issues that South Africa has and you really want to change those issues for the better, then let's think about what kind of people we need in the classrooms. We need the utmost brilliant minds for them to be able to mold the next generation of brilliant minds. So we need the absolute best to be in our classrooms.
Thank you so much, Thuli. We really enjoy having you in the organization. Second to that, thank you so much for coming on to this episode. I mean, producer to guest. Beginning of the year, January, you are producer. Oh, wow. November, you are a guest. I mean, 360, if there ever was. Now we're going to have Ansha and Umzwandile coming up next. And just tell us, what are your fondest memories with or of these two individuals?
I guess it's always our kind of team gatherings, you know, like the year-end events, that kind of stuff. Whenever the whole team is together and we just get to chat and be human beings, because I think a lot of the time, and I actually like having kind of a more human-centered approach with people rather than just talking about work or things being about work. Like there's a person behind, you know, that laptop.
The profession,
and behind the profession. So it's really important to really engage with people on a more human-centered level. And that's what I really appreciate, is having just like really personal and lovely conversations. And I'm also glad to say that I can actually have these conversations with these two individuals, and they also offer really great advice. Zwa is also just a brilliant mind. I also like just his calm and in the way that he delivers certain things, and he's just so calm about it. It's brilliant. And Ansha's just one of the kindest people I know. So really enjoy working with them.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. Thank you, Thuli. And Njengesiqhelo, Nayazi, we can continue the conversation on social media. You know what? For my peace of mind, I'm just going to say Google JGF Fellowship. On the website, you will get to see all of our social media networks. Thuli, this has been the bane of our year. For me to know what our hashtags and our social media handles are, I'm just like, what the heck? But
yes, all of it is on our website. So just go you can Google JGF Fellowship. Or just go on our website, www.jgfellowship.org, and all the deets are there.
All the deets are there. Now we're going to have our next guests. Our episode is continuing in the spirit of festivities. Ningashiyeki ke, Mathabo. We'll see you on episode 2 of Humans of JGF.